Liberate IT is an Oracle NetSuite solution provider that has been servicing Australian and New Zealand companies since 2011.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's the top of the hour, so we will get going into our latest of our fortnightly webinar series. Today, we are going to be going through optimizing dashboards, and given the high turnout of registrations for this, it seems to be a bit of a popular one, so I'm really pleased that we're able to offer that today. And this actually came from someone who attended a previous session and had asked, hey, it'd be great just to revisit dashboards and getting the most out of those. So, you know, we're always looking for ideas of what customers would like us to present on. So if you have any ideas, feel free to get in touch with me via email or give me a call, and I'll be really pleased to see when we can slot in any upcoming training sessions that you'd like. As I mentioned, today is all about optimizing dashboards. I'm Andrew Liniger. I am the Relationship Manager for Liberate IT. I'm going to be joined soon by Man and Marielle. They are on our support desk. Man, who's an accountant by profession, she's been doing NetSuite for over 10 years, as has Marielle. So these guys have a lot of experience, they're a lot of fun to work with, and they're going to go through dashboard optimization. So we're going to start with Man, who will take you through all the concepts of the dashboards, and then we'll be handing over to Marielle, who will be actually doing a live demo of those for you as well. So sit back, relax, and I am now going to hand over to Man. Man, over to you.
Okay, thank you for that, Andrew. And then I'll share my screen. Please let me know if you can share my screen, or if you can see my screen rather. Right, I'm sharing. Am I sharing?
Yes, we got you.
All right, so we'll start. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Man, and I've been with Liberate IT for almost 3 years already as part of the support team and handling mostly ERP cases. Now, for today's webinar, Marielle and I will be discussing dashboards optimization. This may be a review for most of you, but hopefully you will still get some tips and tricks that you will find handy on your day-to-day NetSuite processes. So, as Andrew mentioned earlier, I'll be going through the concepts of optimizing dashboards first, and Marielle will do the demo afterwards. So please bear with me and try not to fall asleep as I'm going through the deck. All right. So we'll start. For our agenda this morning, we'll talk about the dashboards overview. We'll go through the different portlets, such as reminders, lists, custom search, KPI Meter, and KPI Scorecards, right? So we'll also discuss on how to customize the dashboard itself and how to publish the same to different users. Lastly, we'll go through some optimization tips that we at support find handy in navigating through NetSuite. All right, so we'll start. Dashboard. So NetSuite displays different sets of tagged pages called the center. So some people call it menus, some people call it tabs. All right. So the center is based on the user's roles. The administrator role is using the classic center. Other roles will be under a different center, such as accounting center, sales center, support center, etc. Right. So the tagged pages display a collection of real-time data. This is called a dashboard. The dashboard is a virtual space that gives users useful data for that, right? So in turn, the dashboard content are divided into different boxes, which we call portlets. So there are different types of portlets, and these are, say to name a few, bank reconciliation summary, lists bank and credit card accounts, key data for matching and reconciliation. We have calendar portlet, which displays activities where users can change view to daily, weekly, monthly, or agenda view. We also have analytics, which shows workbook chart, pivot table, or table view. We have custom portlet. So custom portlets enable you to display suite script results on your dashboard. Some interesting notes about the custom portlet. User need to install bundles and to create a suite script portlet script before they can set up the dashboard tiles and navigation portlet. So this can come in handy for you. This can be lists, data, entry forms, free-form HTML, or links to external data. You can pull up a maximum of six portlets for the custom search. So for that, for the maximum number of icons that you can pull up or portlets that you can put up, Marielle will demo that to you later. All right. So for custom search, this shows results from a saved search. All right. We also have goals portlet. So you must have the Suite People HR or performance management feature enabled before you can use this. The goals portlet feature, you can track and review employee performance. So if you're interested or keen to know more about that, please send us a query and we'll create a case for you and answer that for you. All right. So for KPI meters, this shows up to three graphical representation of key performance indicator data or KPI data. The choices of meter are limited to the KPIs displayed in the dashboard's KPI Portlet. Now for the key performance indicators, which we'll have a bit more later, this shows metrics for data from reports or saved searches for selected date range. This has the option to compare between date ranges and highlight results, right? So for KPI Scorecard, this provides more complex comparisons among multiple KPIs over multiple date ranges or accounting periods. You can define up to 8 KPIs as headlines, right? Now for lists, Portlet, you can pull up lists of records with links to view or edit depending on your role's permission. We also have My Login Audit, which shows information about your login activity. Take note that this is only for your login. All right. Now, one thing to note will also be the new release portlet. So this portlet summarizes the feature from the latest release of NetSuite, right? So things to note, this includes release dates, access to new release notes, links to release preview, right? So you also can take note of your upgrade dates. For customers on higher tier, you can request to reschedule your release date, but it must be at least 10 days before your schedule. And also do note that NetSuite follows a schedule of upgrade date changes. So it is suggested that you request for reschedule at least 2 weeks prior to the requested date, since NetSuite also has its own cutoff. Okay, so also, we have phone calls, project tasks, quick add portlets that you can make use of. And for other portlets that I haven't touched, please note that. And if you have, again, if you have questions, we can answer that to you via the case. All right. Okay, so um, we'll go through some of the portlets that we have right now by starting with Reminders Portlet. So this is most probably for some the widely used portlet since it gives you the tasks for the day. Right, some prerequisites of a custom reminder. So make sure that if you're going or if you're creating a custom reminder, the save search is set to as available for reminder, right? Or the available for reminder checkbox is marked. Secondly, make sure that the public checkbox is marked as well and that no results or no grouping is set at the results subtab, right? So you can drag and drop reminders portlet to rearrange them anywhere on the portlet. Okay. So something to note. So if you happen to see an exclamation mark icon on the reminders portlet. So this just means to say that the link is broken, or not really the link, but the page is. Maybe it's not showing correct results or whatnot. So we'll have to go through that page, through the navigational path, and then fix it before you can refresh the portlet again. Okay. So for the lists portlet, so this again shows standard and custom records created by the users. You can also use this portlet to add new records of the selected record type. In this case, I have customer, right? And if the inline editing feature is enabled and the user have permission, you can edit these records directly in the portlet, just like how it is on my screenshot right here. Okay. So for custom search portlets, you can configure custom search portlets to display saved search results on the homepage dashboard. You can pull up to 6 custom search portlets, which can be used on the homepage. Right? So the number of columns displayed will depend on where the portlet is placed. So either the portlet is placed left or right, you can pull up to 4 columns. But if it's placed on the center, just like how my screenshot is, then you can place up to 9 columns. So see how my columns are placed here. I have at least 7 columns here, right? So just like in list portlets, if the inline editing feature is enabled and you have permission, you can edit the records directly in the portlet. Right. So next would be analytics. So this shows workbook chart, pivot table or table view portlet. So we'll not discuss the creation of workbooks here, but I will just discuss the pulling up of workbooks on the analytics portlet. So if you do not see the analytics icon on the personalized dashboard palette, that means the analytics workbook feature is not enabled, right? So you'll have to enable it first. Users can display up to 10 analytics portlets. And should you want to know more about setting up and creating NetSuite workbooks, we do have a webinar for that. So you can refer to the Reporting Basics webinar on the Liberate IT webpage or on the YouTube channel. Okay, so next would be report snapshots. So users can pull up to 10 snapshots on the dashboard. But please do note that not all reports are available for snapshot. So the reports that are available would be relating to forecasts, item orders, pipelines, sales, sales orders, and time reports. So for say financial reports such as income statement and balance sheet, this is not available for report snapshot yet. This is currently on enhancement with NetSuite. All right, now we'll go to KPIs or key performance indicators. This synthesizes your raw data into critical business metrics that you can see right on your dashboard and in the formats that the users choose. NetSuite includes over 75 prepackaged KPIs based on NetSuite standard reports, including summaries of forecasts, pipeline, orders, cases, and financial data. You can also create custom KPIs based on custom saved searches. So make sure you follow these criteria when you are creating custom saved searches for KPIs. Okay, first, do not include any date fields defined as filters on the criteria subtab, just like this. So my filter is limited to type, all right, or on posting. Make sure you don't have the date criteria there. Second, you have to have exactly one field with summary type defined on the results tab. Now, in this case, I have count as summary type. Lastly, make sure to have a date field defined on the available available filters subtab. Okay, so these are the three um, criteria that you should meet, right? So again, you can display up to 10 custom KPIs on the KPI portlet. Okay. Next would be a KPI meter. So a KPI meter portlet is just a visual representation of your KPI, right? So one thing to note, when adding the KPI meter by default, it pulls up the first KPI line on your KPI portlet, right? And then, of course, you can have up to a maximum of 3 KPI meter portlets on your dashboard. Now, in this case, how to interpret this means to say my previous sales or for my previous month sales would be 118, all right? And then my current or the current period sales is 13.6K. Okay, so that's how we interpret this. Now for the KPI scorecard. So if you do not see the KPI scorecard icon on the dashboard portlet, that means to say that the KPI scorecard feature is not enabled, right? So you will have to enable that under enable features, analytics subtab, just to make sure that you have that feature, okay? So note that there's only one standard KPI scorecard available in NetSuite, but that's called financial ratios, right? So you can add or create custom KPI scorecards moving forward, though, right? So that's it for the portlets. Now I will go through the steps on publishing your dashboard, which Marielle will demo to us later. All right. So the requirements to publish a dashboard, make sure that the role must have the publish dashboard permission, of course, to begin with. Second, you can only publish dashboard to roles and not to specific users. All right, so take note of that. Lastly, you can only publish a dashboard to roles in the same center. So as mentioned earlier, NetSuite has different centers, such as Classic for admins, so sales, accounting, etc. So if you're logged in as using an accounting center, you can only publish to the roles which has accounting centers also, right? So the steps on how to publish a dashboard. You can publish one or more of your own tab pages. Users can also define user personalization of the published dashboard. You can either set it to locked, where users will not be able to make it any changes to, add or move content, where users can add or move portlets but not able to remove them. Lastly, you can set it to unlocked, where users can add, remove, or move portlets as they deem necessary. Okay, so should you want to publish your dashboard, you go to the home dashboard, click on settings portlet, then publish the dashboard. So this will really be exciting on a demo when Muriel comes in for that. Okay, so that's my last slide, and we'll wait for the demo.
All right. Thank you so much, Man. So, Man already gave you the overview. Oh, by the way, my name is Marielle. I'm also part of support. And just a quick introduction, I've been with Liberate since I think 2017 or 2018, thereabouts. All right. So, let me share my screen. Should be seeing my NetSuite account. I'm currently logged in using an AR clerk role. I hope everybody can see.
We sure can.
All right, thank you for that, Andrew. All right, so Man mentioned about a dashboard and it's role-based and center-based. So I'm logged in using the AR clerk role, which is part of the accounting or which is using the accounting center. So the center identifies the tabbed pages that you will see when you log into NetSuite. So with this role, my tabs look a bit different from when I log in or when you guys log in using an administrator role. So my tabs are grouped differently. So any role that's using the same center will typically have the same tabbed or will see the same tabbed pages unless you maybe make customizations to it. Right, so just to give you a heads up, so when you log into NetSuite initially, you will be taken to the home dashboard by default. And every tab has a dashboard. So if I click on the customers tab, it'll give me the customer, like a customer dashboard. And then if you click on analytics, of course, you'll access your analytics, your workbooks, if your role has permission to view workbooks. But I'm not going to click on it because sometimes that takes a while to load. So I'm just going to go back to my home dashboard. So the dashboard is a set of data, has a set of data that you can see, and the data is stored in these boxes called portlets. Each portlet can store or display data depending on the type that you have on your screen. So with the AR clerk role, I don't have a lot of things. There's not a lot I can see here. So I'm going to create or I'm going to customize a dashboard and then publish it to this role. But as Maan mentioned earlier, when publishing a dashboard, you have a few things to remember. First, you need to be using a role that has permission to publish dashboards. And to identify that, if you look at the settings portlet, if you have or if you see a publish dashboard link here, then that means that you can create a dashboard and then publish it to other users or other roles within the same center. But since I don't have that permission, I am going to change my role into, I'm going to use the controller role, which has the publish dashboard permission. So if you noticed, using the controller role, it's showing a different dashboard look. You can actually change your dashboard layout by clicking on the layout link on the top corner of your screen. And you have 4 layouts to choose from. So depending on the layout you choose, content of the portlets will display differently as well. I'm going to pick a 2-column layout where the left column is narrow and the right column is wider. And if I move one of my portlets, like my reminders portlet, and move it to the left, so the view is a little bit more compressed because it will follow the size of the column. Okay, so I don't have a lot of information showing on my dashboard. I am going to add more content by clicking on the personalized link on the top corner. And from the personalized dashboard menu, you have several menu categories. If you look at the currently used menu, it'll give you a list of portlets that are already added in your dashboard. So I already have the reminders. I have settings portlet. The settings portlet is locked and it's added by default on all roles. I already have a custom search portlet and I'm just hovering over each box. And when you hover over each box, it'll give you the title or the name of the portlet or what type it is. And depending on the type of portlet, it'll also show you a counter. So I'm going to add more content. I'm not going to use any, I'm not adding any suite apps portlet, so just standard content. I will add, since I already have a key performance indicators portlet, I believe, I'm going to add an analytics portlet. So again, if mouse while hovering over the analytics box, it gives me a counter on the corner, top right corner. If I just single click on the box, it'll add the portlet to my dashboard. So it's not set up yet. And then notice that the counter has changed as well. So it's easy to track how many portlets you can still add for that portlet type. Right, so I'm going to add an analytics portlet. I have a reminders. I'm going to add a custom search. I think I already have one because I believe we can add a maximum of 6. So yes, I have one here already. So I think I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to add one KPI meter portlet. Let's see if I have I have the KPI or Key Performance Indicators Portlet already. I'm going to add a KPI Scorecard Portlet as well. And do I have one report snapshot? All right. So I'm just going to close this menu so that I can maximize my screen. All right. So I'm going to start with my KPI scorecard since it's the very first one that I'm seeing. So to set up your portlet, you just hover over the portlet options. It's a button or icon on the top right corner of the portlet. Click on setup, and NetSuite actually provides you with several standard scorecards that you can play around with. You can also customize the standard ones, or you can also create your own custom KPI scorecards. For this demo, I'll be using a custom scorecard that we created called Financial Metrics Liberate. I will show trend graph icon and show date icon. I'll keep KPIs on the left and save. Okay, so this is my KPI scorecard. Notice that depending on how you set up your scorecard, you can add some highlighting or maybe some like colors as well, just like when you're creating a saved search. Next is I am going to set up my analytics portlet. Okay, so depending on the role that you're using, you might have access to the analytics portlet, but if your role does not have permission to access workbooks, you might not be able to see this. Or maybe you can add the portlet, but you won't be able to see any analytics workbooks available. But if there are workbooks that are shared with you or with your role, then you can also see this and add the workbook in your dashboard. So in this, you can set what type of analytics portlet you're going to show. So you have three options. You can show a pivot portlet, a chart, or even a table. So for this demo, I will just pick chart, and notice that the menu has changed and it's only showing me two workbooks available to be used as a chart in my analytics portlet. I'm going to pick sales overtime. And when you click on the name of the workbook, it gives you other options. So you can choose the height of the portlet. So I'm going to leave it at medium. You can set a custom name for the workbook. So it will become the portlet title, but I will leave it at sales overtime and save it. So notice the title, it's showing me the name of the portlet type, and then once it's loaded, it changes to the title of the report or the workbook. So this is currently showing me a line chart. We can change how the chart is displayed. And I am just going to pick a stacked column chart, but you have other chart options to choose from. So depending on what chart would make more sense to you when you're viewing the report data. Okay, then I have my key performance indicators portlet at the bottom. I have a few KPIs already set up. I'm going to add more. So click on setup again. And I just want to mention that you have this little checkbox here called cached data. So if this is enabled, the information on the portlet will not be automatically refreshed. So you can instead use the refresh icon on the portlet. Now, this is particularly helpful if you're noticing that maybe when you're logged into NetSuite, your dashboard is loading slowly. So to resolve performance issues or to at least help isolate performance issues, you can mark the cache data for some portlets. This is available for some portlets that display real-time data. So you can use cache data and then just manually refresh the content of the portlet when you're viewing it or when you log into NetSuite, instead of having NetSuite reload it and refresh it automatically every time you're viewing the page. But I'll leave it unchecked for now. So you have the option to add standard KPIs and custom KPIs. There are several standard KPIs that are available for you to use already in NetSuite, but you can also add custom ones. So the ones that I currently have now these are all standard KPIs. So if I click on standard, all right, so those are standard ones. If I add custom, I will, let's see, let's add a few more. So maybe I'll add, you can use the search field on the pop-up, because if you're going, or instead of skimming through several pages of saved searches in the list, if you know the name of the saved search, you can just type the name of the search and then click search, and then it'll give you a relevant list based on what keyword to use for searching. I'll add another custom KPI called, oops, sorry, I did not mean to close that. Let's add it again. Sales order count. And then another one is, okay, so it's not liking me to do that for right now. So I'll just maybe add it. Maybe search, click, and then done. All right, add another one. I'll pick gross profit by customer and then done. Okay, so notice that Man mentioned earlier that a KPI gives you a comparison between two periods. So the default periods are showing on the range columns. So right now it's comparing my KPIs, this period versus last period, and this month versus last month. So you can change the period comparisons from within the Portlet, or you can keep it as is. If you want to show, or if you want to highlight the KPIs to be at the top of the Portlet when you're viewing it, then you can mark it highlight, choose always. You can also headline it. So KPIs are headlined, will be shown in bold letters. And maybe I'll add another one. So maybe cash flow. I'll headline it as well. And then I'll add sales order count. And then I'm going to click save. All right. So since I highlighted and headlined three KPIs, it is showing on the top. The trend graphs are showing at the top. And notice that the KPIs are also shown in bold letters here on the list. I want to move this KPI Portlet to the top so that it's one of the first things I see when I'm logged into NetSuite. So you can move a Portlet by simply clicking on the Portlet and then just holding down your keyboard and then just drag it. Notice the dotted line, the box in blue, that indicates the place where you're dropping your Portlet to. So if I uncheck, right? All right, so now it's at the top and I just need to refresh. So this is the manual refresh button here. All right, so you can notice this button here. You have the option to expand or hide the KPI if you just want to view the trend graphs. So you can also do that. All right, so I have the KPI Portlet. I have a scorecard. Now this is my analytics Portlet. And I have here a custom search Portlet as well. If you hover over the menu and click on setup, you can choose different saved searches that you have that's available for the dashboard. You can set the result size. Setting the result size can also improve the load time of your dashboard, because if you're showing a lot of data on the Portlet, then that could affect the load time and, of course, NetSuite's performance. So you can click on records from the list or the saved search within the Portlet, and you have the option to drill down from within the Portlet itself, or if you want to open the record that you're clicking on a new page. So you have that option. If your role has inline editing, or if your account has inline editing enabled, you have the option to allow inline editing from within the Portlet. So you don't have to drill down into the record to make the changes. So by allowing inline editing, you can update the records from within the portlet itself. But of course, only you can only update some of the columns that are available for inline editing. So I'm going to click save. All right, so notice that there's a pencil icon on some columns showing here. So let's say you want to update the email address for this record. Since inline editing is enabled, you can do that from here. So let's say maybe I'll just add this, I'll update his email address, and that's saved. So when you open the record, the email address is already saved in that record as well. All right, so I have, I'm gonna move this to the top as well so that it's easier for me to see. I am going to move my quick search portlet to the left to optimize my dashboard, and as well as my recent records. All right, so do I have everything I need? Am I happy? Let's just quickly review. So I have a custom search, an analytics portlet. I have my scorecard. I have my reminders portlet and my KPI. Oh, I have my report snapshot. So let's update my snapshot. When you add a report snapshot portlet, it always defaults to one of the standard snapshots available. And I think for mine, it's showing me top 5 campaigns, but we can change that. And let's see, we'll use comparative sales. All right, so notice that the menu changed the moment I chose a different report. So depending on the type of report you're showing and in the portlet, you may have different menu options as well. So in this case, I have the option to compare between time periods, and I can compare up to 3, but I'll leave it at 2. And you can choose the date range. So what periods are you going to compare? The type of chart. This is just the chart theme. And then for the date range columns, you have the option to change the colors so that when you're viewing the snapshot, it's more pleasing to the eye maybe, or it's easier to identify the data. So I'm going to set a different color for each column. Okay, and I'm saving it. So it's going to reload. Okay, so that's my comparative sales snapshot. And then I have my KPI meter. So it's showing me the income KPI because the first KPI that's on my key performance indicators portlet is income. But we can change that. But however, you're limited to the KPIs that are available in your key performance indicator portlet. But notice that you have these 3 here at the bottom as well. So you have actual versus forecast, actual versus quota, and forecast versus quota. So these are standard ones that are added by default. So maybe I'll pick gross profit by customer on this meter, right? And if you hover over the KPI meter, it'll show you a summary of the data for regarding what this particular KPI meter is showing. Okay, so I think I am happy with my dashboard. I am ready to publish this to the AR clerk role. Okay, just a quick review. All right. So we're going to scroll down to the settings portlet and then click on the publish dashboard link. We'll set a name for our dashboard. I don't have a shortcuts portlet showing, so I don't need to enable lock shortcuts. Essentially, if you check this box, you are locking the shortcuts portlet. So users won't be able to remove the shortcuts that are already included in the portlet if you have the shortcuts portlet. Then you have the option to lock the new bar. So here, this is actually the new bar, or the menu for the new bar. So if you hover over this icon, it'll give you a list of records that you can create new records that you can create from within your dashboard. So these are sort of like your shortcuts, but it's different from a shortcuts portlet. So it's just a menu that's available. You can personalize this, meaning you can add more records um, in the menu. So if you lock the new bar and then you publish this dashboard, the users won't be able to remove all of these options that are already included in your new bar menu, but they can still personalize it and add more options. Okay. Now we can let's choose the roles that we are going to publish a dashboard to. So if you click on the list, it'll give you a set of or a list of roles that are sharing the same center as a controller. So these are all using the accounting center roles. But I will just be sharing this dashboard to the AR clerk role. And then if you mark override existing user settings, when the user logs in using the AR clerk role, if that user already customized his dashboard, it will be overridden with the dashboard that you publish. And depending on how you set it up, like the permission is set on the apply to tabs. So we customize the home dashboard. So I'm going to publish that. Note that you can publish more than one tab. So you can publish several tabs included in your dashboard. And for the personalization, you can set, as Maan mentioned earlier, you can choose between unlocked, locked, or add and move content. So I'm going to set it to add and move content, which will allow the user to move the portlets around and add portlets or add new portlets, but the user will not be able to remove the portlets that are already part of the published dashboard. Okay, so I am happy and I am just gonna save. All right, so the moment you save your published dashboard, it's already published. So if we switch to the AR clerk role, all right, so I showed you the AR clerk roles dashboard earlier. So now when I logged in, it's different. Few things to know. When I created my key performance indicators portlet earlier using the controller role, I actually had 5 KPIs showing. But when I published it and now I'm logged into the AR clerk role, I can only see 2. That's because even though I published the dashboard and the portlet to this role, but this role does not have access to view data that's part of the portlet, then it will also not show on the portlet because again, we're still restricted by the role permissions. Same with the report snapshot. I published the dashboard with a report snapshot, but it's not displaying any data. It's because this role does not have access to view the snapshot that I published, which was comparative sales. So since I cannot make changes to this, um, I still have the option to add. So I can personalize and add another report snapshot portlet. And again, it's showing me the default, but I can set it up and use a different report. So maybe I'll just choose invoices. And okay, so notice that the menu is also different from when we set it up. So again, it's dependent on what type of report you're trying to show on the portlet. So it's going to refresh. And while we're waiting, all right, so it's loaded. I just want to point out as well that we have this option here. So the viewing. Right now, all of the data in my portlets is showing the period comparisons based on the periods that are selected in the portlets or how the KPIs were set up. But if, for instance, you want your your key performance indicators, your trend graphs, your snapshots to be showing the same period comparisons within in your dashboard, you can also set it up that way by changing it. So if you click on the menu and then click on the options, and if I change this to, for example, this year versus last year, and click done, so my KPIs will Portlet will reload. Same with my report snapshot. it's going to reload, and note that the periods have changed. So the period comparisons have changed. So this is like a quick shortcut if you want your entire dashboard to be showing the same period data instead of showing different period comparisons. So it's easier to understand, or like we can tie up all our data together. All right. So that's basically it for publishing our dashboard. So it's very simple. Next that I want to go through will be some dashboard optimization options that are available. I am just going to switch to my administrator role just because we have more options available to us using the admin role. Okay, and I am going to navigate to home, set preferences, and just quickly point out some options that are available. So one of the first things is setting up your user profile. So this is particularly helpful if you're utilizing the email functionality of NetSuite. So if you're always sending emails through NetSuite, it's helpful to set up your user profile. So if you, whatever nickname or the name that you enter here, as well as the from email address and signature, all this will be included when you send out emails in NetSuite. So if you add a nickname, that will be the name that will show up when the recipients receive your email. And the from email address will also be the email address that will show up when the users receive it. And at the same time, when they respond to emails that you send out, they will be forwarded to the email address you set up here on the from email address field. But if you leave the from email address field blank, NetSuite will by default use the email address you use to log into NetSuite. So it will always use your login email address. When sending out emails, you have the option to create your signature, and you can use HTML to make to make prettier signatures. So you can use HTML in this box. And then if you mark the add signature to messages, so every time you send out emails in NetSuite, your signature is always appended or added to the signature. There are instances where we create custom email templates that are for use by everyone in the organization. And maybe in the email template, there's already a signature added there. NetSuite will not add your signature twice. So NetSuite has that capability that if you added a signature on the email template, and then even though it is marked here on this page, your signature will still not appear twice. So that's fine. Next is show internal IDs. So I enabled show internal IDs. This is particularly helpful if you want to maybe add formulas in your saved searches or maybe on your scripts, and you need to know the specific field IDs because we use the internal IDs of fields when running calculations in NetSuite. So if you enable field level help, you can click on the pop-up by clicking on the name of the field. It will open the field help pop-up, and it will display the internal ID of the field. So this isn't a very good example because this is just a preference and we can't really run calculations on preferences. But if you click on any field within the customer record, it will show the internal ID of that field, and then you can use that in your formulas or in your scripts. And also, if this preference is enabled, every time you create a saved search or when you're viewing a list, the internal ID of the records will always be showing by default. So you don't have to manually mark it. Okay, another option is under Optimizing NetSuite, you have the delay loading of sublists. So if what this will do is that it delays the loading of subtabs within records until you click on that specific subtab. This is also helpful when you're experiencing performance issues in NetSuite. So for example, you're clicking on a customer record and a customer record has several tabs. If you don't enable this preference, NetSuite will load the content of all of the tabs, even though you're just viewing one of the tabs at the moment. So to avoid performance issues or to improve performance issues, you can mark this preference so that NetSuite will only load the subtabs when you click on them. Right? So another option is under appearance. And here at the bottom, there's an option for landing page. So if you leave this blank, by default, when you log into NetSuite, you're always taken to the home dashboard. If you want to change it and use a different tab as your landing page, you can do that. So you can, there are, depending on the role and the center, you have several tabs to choose from to set as your default. Okay, next is under analytics. So you can report by period. If you enable this, then the reports you selected here will be reported by period. So there's going to be like a peer comparison, and at the same time, at the bottom of the report, the period filter is available as well. So you have three options here. You can set it to either all reports, financials, or never. However, if this is set to never, you have to take note that your budget and tax reports might not work or might not run um, properly. So if you're running budget and tax reports, make sure to set this to either all reports or financial. Okay. Another option is to include inactives in global or quick search. So we get a lot of questions about customers not able to find certain records in their NetSuite account. It's because, so even though they search for it in global search, it was because the record was actually set to inactive. So to avoid that, or if you want to be able to capture inactives in the global search, you might want to enable this preference. Okay, and then a few more. Let's go to restrict view. All right. So restrict view will allow you to restrict the records that you're currently viewing in NetSuite. Now, if you're also using a One World account, aside from department, location, and class, you also see an option here for subsidiary. So it essentially limits your access to information for the selected class, department, or location that you selected here, or even subsidiary. But the preference is only applicable for the duration that you're logged into NetSuite. When you log out of NetSuite and log back in, the restrictions will be removed. So if you want to add restrictions again, you have to go to this page again and set your restrictions. All right, actually that's it. I might have taken a lot of time, but I'm done. So it's back to you, Andrew.
Hey, Marielle, thanks so much. We've done pretty well for time. We've got 5 minutes left. We answered a couple of questions during the actual session by some people, but if you've got any hot burning questions, I might just repeat those just to make sure everyone knows what they are. So one of the questions was, do you need admin rights to edit or review customizations? And the answer there was that no, each role can set their own dashboards and portlets, where the role permissions are determined what data is available to be displayed on those portlets. So that's one of them. The other one was, hey, having trouble seeing the KPIs for the company. And the answer there was to go and to the personalized dashboard and the currently used to see if that's already there. Maybe it's already been used in some aspect down there, because you can only have one KPI on there at any given time. So I must admit, for me, very familiar with NetSuite dashboards at its basic form. As I've gone around visiting clients, I must admit that I've seen a lot of customers with their dashboards the same way as they originally were set up years ago. I would always say that as the business changes and evolves, it'd be good to make sure that those dashboards remain relevant to the users as well. So even though I'm fairly familiar with all things NetSuite dashboards, I've always found the KPIs a little bit challenging to see at any given time. So and to configure, and there was a lot of tips in there on how to use those. So thanks very much, guys. I know that we really pushed you out of your comfort zone today, so really appreciate you presenting to everyone today. So if there aren't any other questions, I might wrap up here because we're at the end of the hour, and I will just wrap up by saying, hey, again, if you've got any training suggestions, please reach out to me, and I would love to slot those in. I'm currently debating what training we'll do for next month. So if there's a hot topic for you, let me know. Also, looking forward to our anniversary event in the second half of the year. And in terms of recording, we obviously recorded this. We will be posting this up on our YouTube page. It does take about a week for that to become available. So check that out when that becomes there, and like our YouTube channel, so that you can track when we're making those posts. That'd be great. So that's it. That wraps us up for today. Thanks very much, everybody, for taking part. Really appreciate your time, and looking forward to our next session in a fortnight with the NetSuite infrastructure team. That should be a really helpful exercise too. So in the meantime, take care, and speak to you soon.
We hope this video gave you the information you were after. If you have any further questions, get in touch with us using the links in the description. At Liberate IT, we can provide free consulting to understand your business system requirements, understand your company growth plans, and provide free NetSuite demonstrations. For more information, visit our website.